in as we go, but for time's sake, let me do a quick roll call. I think I have all of my lead and co-facilitators on the line, but just to make sure, Mr. Pinson? Are you there, Mr. Pinson?
Yes.
All right, Chad Walker, I think I saw you there.
I'm here.
All right, thank you, Chad. Marissa Brower, you're with us as well?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, very good. And so we also have Kathy Myers.
Yes, ma'am.
Good smart.
Eric Waters.
Oh, hey, Penny, how are you?
Eric, you with us? Wait, because I thought I saw him tune in earlier. All right, and we know Katie Thomas is with us already. So then we have none other than Debbie Phillips.
I'm here, and
Very good.
except Cassandra Washington, we've got Teresa Summer.
Okay, very good. And then Mr. Whitlock, are you with us yet?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, very good, very good. Well, so with that, I sent you guys out a copy on Friday. Maybe it was Saturday when I was in the office, but nonetheless, our agenda. So I don't know if you have that handy, but we have some special guests that I asked to kick off today. So Ian Caraway, are you with us? Going once, going twice, Ian Caraway. Well, he was with us moments ago. All right, Ian, I see you there and you have yourself muted. Hear me? Eartha Ian. Dale. What about Tyrell Dale? Is Mr. Dale with us?
I am here. How are y'all?
We are doing well, sir. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm still haircutless, so don't mind me, but I'm here.
Okay.
Jenny Williams, I'm here. This is Cassandra Washington.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. All right, well, while we were trying to get Ian, looks like maybe he's got us muted, so I was going to turn the table over to you, Tyrell, if you wanted to speak to the group to open us up this afternoon.
Yeah, that's no problem. So, this is Tyrell Dale, a policy analyst with the Lieutenant Governor's Office, and really, I just want to congratulate everybody for just the work that y'all did. I mean, this was, I've only had so many sessions under my belt, but this was definitely will be the craziest one I've ever have seen, and I pretty much hear that from people that have been there for 40 sessions or two, and I'm sure Ian can pretty much say the same. It was a lot that happened, but what I can definitely say at the end of the day, I was glad to see the 3 new college and career academies involved in the budget. And that was something that was truly special to see. I felt like it drove home the point that college and career academies are here to stay, and they're still on people's minds, and they're still a part of this community, and they're growing. And so, I mean, if anything, I was happy to see that, and I know a lot of people involved here today were a part of that process, and I want to thank you guys. I especially want to thank Jenny, Mark, Frank, and everybody that's just been involved in that process. So, I mean, if anything, we're still going to be working hard. Last year we had the summit, and I felt like it was a really special event. And this year we haven't confirmed, just because with everything kind of still going on with the coronavirus and COVID-19. So we haven't exactly confirmed whether we're going to have it or not yet, but it's something that we're definitely fighting for. So if anything, I just wanted to kind of keep you guys updated on that. And if y'all have any questions for me, I'll be here all 1 to 4.
All right. Thank you, Tyrell.
Yeah.
Ian, are you with us now? He's working away hard in the governor's office, but he must have muted us. But that's all right. He might be hanging out with us for the remainder of the day. I will take this opportunity just as a video conference etiquette to ask everybody to mute yourself on your end. And if I call on you, don't forget to unmute yourself. So with that, okay, I see now. I'm getting text simultaneously. So we determined that all of our speakers were here. Here's another little quick outline of today's session. We have a lot to pack into this 3-hour window, but we'd like to keep it moving. I appreciate all of you guys that registered and you gave us comments relative to, you know, silver linings during all of this COVID-19. A lot of good stuff going out there that we will speak to. As a matter of fact, Melissa Edwards, are you with us from Worth County? Okay. Miss Edwards isn't with us yet. Dave Moeller, Whitfield County, you with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, hey Dave. Listen, I wanted to, sorry for putting you on the spot, but I'm putting you on the spot because your comment relative to the silver lining during COVID stood out to me, and I want to get to that here momentarily. But we've also asked some other special guests to join us, some of our business partners. Mr. Cooksey, are you with us?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Brian, I'm glad you could join us again. As a state business partner, you know, not only do we ask our CEOs to share some of the silver linings and challenges and opportunities, maybe even that the challenges have presented, but we wanted to hear from you guys as state business partners about how this has affected the workplace. So if you wouldn't mind sharing, particularly to Shaw, what's it looking like in your world?
Sure. Well, thank you for the opportunity and hope everyone's doing well. I know it's a busy time for everyone with looking at starting school back, and we certainly have you all in our thoughts and prayers and hope you all are doing well personally. From a Shaw standpoint, we is going all the way back to March. We've been considered an essential business from the beginning of this process. So we really have never closed our business through this process. We certainly, when COVID hit, much like with the schools, we had to quickly look at our practices and policies and protocols and make sure that we could adapt those to meet the different situations we were facing, not only in the communities in which we had operations, but within our facilities, with our associates and their personal needs as well as the customers that we serve. So we spent a lot of time adjusting our protocols, making sure that we had the safest environments possible to take care of our associates and supporting those associates and our customers throughout this process. We've as we always do as an organization, we try to support our communities as well. And so we've spent a lot of time trying to make sure that our communities are supported. We've made face shields in our maker space and donated those to area hospitals. We've fed hospital staff. We've provided flooring for these makeshift hospitals that have sprung up across the country to deal with different hotspots. And we've made sure that we are supporting our associates as well in their need for time off for childcare and things like that, and to treat family members who have had situations with COVID. So it's been a challenging situation for all of us, but we've adapted. And while we've never closed our business, we have had some individual facilities that have had to close to do cleanings, or certain business facilities that have closed for a short period of time to based on business demands or different situations in different communities. Right now, we have the majority of our administrative and sales group working from home, and that's been an adjustment as well. We use a lot of video conferencing. We did that previously, but we've increased that during this time. We are planning to begin to transition our office folks back to the office in August. We are hiring in some parts of our business right now. We have our residential business is doing very well. Our logistics business is very busy. And so those areas of our business are actually hiring right now. And we do have some challenges in finding people because of COVID. We are facing some absenteeism challenges right now because people are having to stay home for childcare or various other reasons. So it is continuing to be a challenge to operate as we need to keep up with demand. I guess one good thing from all this is, from our standpoint, is that people are remodeling their homes because they've been in their homes a lot. And so they're identifying opportunities to make their homes look better. And so that's driving some of our residential business right now. But certainly our focus has been on supporting our associates, keeping them safe, supporting our customers that buy from us to make sure they can sustain their business throughout this whole process, and supporting the communities in which we live and work. So, but much like you guys, it's been a challenging time, but we're continuing to adapt and adjust, and anxious to see how things continue to go when schools begin to open in our communities. So don't know if there's any questions, but that's just a quick overview of what's happening from Shaw's standpoint.
And you're still hiring, right?
Yes, we're still hiring. As I mentioned, again, absenteeism has been a challenge because of COVID. A lot of our associates, haven't necessarily gotten sick themselves, but they have issues with childcare, or they have maybe family members or what have you that have been affected, and so that's posed a little bit of a challenge to us. So we're actually hiring in some cases to be able to operate due to absenteeism more so than maybe business growth right now, because our business overall is down a little bit through this process, but we're hoping the rest of the year is going to be better. But certainly you got to have people working to be able to produce products and serve customers. So.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Another of our state business partners is on the line. Jamal Jesse, are you there from Georgia Power? Can you talk to us about how this has affected the utilities?
Yes, good afternoon. How you doing today?
Good to see you.
Yeah, so COVID has definitely been impactful to our workforce. Right now, our hiring is down 46% compared to this time last year. And that's largely in part to many of our pre-employment testing require physical assessments. And those physical assessments obviously require people to be in large groups and large gatherings. And right now, the way our phased approach to coming back to work is structured is that we're not allowed to gather in large gathering group. We're still considered a phase one, essential personnel only. So right now, we only have the people that keep the lights on. That's in our headquarters, our linemen, our plant operators. So those are the only personnel that's in our headquarters. So our goal is to make sure that we keep them safe and not get them infected, to ensure that they keep our communities powered up. So right now, that has definitely been a damper with our workforce efforts. I don't see it being a problem from a financial standpoint, but once we can move to a phase two approach where we can start bringing in more people into the organization, that's when we can resume our hiring plans that we had scheduled for the year. So it's been a downer because we had a lot of plans for a lot of interns, high school interns that are coming from career academies, and high schools that we're going to intern this year. So that has definitely been a downer because we've had to pump the brakes on those plans to bring those students in. So right now we're just kind of sitting and waiting and hoping that we can get those new cases to go down, so that way we can move into phase two and resume our hiring process.
Okay. Well, thank you, sir. All right, so
Thank you.
Let me take this opportunity again for those of you that may have joined us late. I want to ask everyone to mute yourself on your end so that we don't hear background noise. I just sent Todd Gaines a note, but nonetheless, maybe he'll see that note here momentarily. Meanwhile, Mr. Ian, are you with us?
Thank you, Jenny. It's good to be with everyone again. I hope y'all can hear me.
Well, I can hear you.
Okay, I have a little bit of an echo. It's great to be with everyone again, and I want to first, on behalf of the governor, thank everyone, everything you've done throughout this really strange, challenging year to adapt so that we can continue as we can technical education. I can't imagine the challenges, but I'm glad we were able to keep going as best we could. We're optimistic that we can use this as an opportunity to better focus on workforce development, particularly for those individuals and industries that have been hit the hardest. We're looking at several different ideas and proposals that have been sent from the technical college system, university system, and some outside partners. If you had any ideas, you can get those to Jenny. She's got my email. I'm talking about the governor's discretionary fund. There have been a lot of questions about that. We are evaluating all of the ideas coming in. We have 30 days, I believe from tomorrow, to get that in up to DC. I know it seems like a long time ago, but we had a good session. Dual enrollment reform, I barely remember at this point. It seems so long ago. I'm very proud that we were able to keep 3 career academies in the bond package. I'm very excited for those counties and those regions that are going to be able to get this opportunity. As you all know, I went to career academies, so I'm very excited for these communities and the opportunities going forward. Particularly, Union County last year, they're working across state lines, and then the regional partners for the South Georgia schools. These are great things that are really exciting, and I was happy to share all of those with the governor. As you've all seen in the news, we are pushing hard and very hopeful for a return to in-person instruction, and a little different. That is the governor's priority where it is safe and can be done. And I hope that benefits all of us here with our focus on technical education so that we can get back as close to where we were before this so that we can keep going and keep building the workforce that we need. I don't really have much more of an update. People ask what it's like around here every day. Every day is an adventure. My new saying is it's just another day in 2020.
Thank you,
But
Ian.
thank y'all for letting me be here.
Appreciate you, as always, as always. And if you're following along on our agenda, we had also planned to have Randall Fox, our third state business partner, with us from Fox Systems out of Gordon County. But Mr. Fox had a conflict come up, so he might not be able to tune in until later. But let me say again to Brian Cooksey, Jamal, Jesse, appreciate your time with us. I mentioned earlier, obviously, having sent out the agenda to our CEOs the end of last week, I had also sent a copy of our bylaws. So you may have read through those and know that those guys will carry on their work with us in that capacity, being our state business partners throughout the year. We certainly appreciate your input, and we'll touch on the bylaws towards the end of today's sessions. But just wanted to bring that piece to your attention, okay? All right, so moving ahead, we wanted to ask our CEOs about some of the silver linings that have presented themselves during this crazy time that we're all facing. And I had some wonderful feedback And I'd like to call on a few of you to speak to that. So can I first call on Eric Waters? Eric, are you there with us?
Hey, Jenny, can you hear me?
I can. Thank you, sir.
Hey, well, the easiest answer there for what was the silver lining of the pandemic is that it ramped up and increased the level of technology, and everybody knows that one. I would say a couple others is it built some camaraderie with individuals that didn't exist. And here's the big one. Basically, it's forced our hand to reinvent education. Right now at the Floyd County school system, we have probably 8 to 12 different game plans. And in a traditional year, which we wish we were in a traditional year, in normal times, we would have been going back to doing some of the same with a few tweaks. But now we have a plethora, as they say, of tweaks and opportunities that we would not have had before. So that's sort of how I see it.
Hey, can you elaborate, Eric, on you were talking about different and new opportunities to collaborate? What do you mean by that exactly?
Okay, right now, a school system is sort of in a village of its own. And now we've had to reach out more to business and industry, the healthcare providers, which that's going to allow us to, when this all clears up, and it will, opportunities for internships, relationships, business partners, and the list just goes on.
Okay, very good. Thank you, sir. All right, Miss Washington, Dr. Washington, Cassandra, you with us out there? I'd love to hear some of the silver linings in Bibb County.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning. Well, good afternoon, everyone. It seems like morning's been a long morning. I've been some great things have happened during the pandemic. It allowed us to look at things differently. I am going to share one of them now and one during the presentation. But doing partnerships when you're trying to really ensure that you're keeping individuals engaged within your community and your governance board, I had the opportunity to do a town hall meeting with the Macon Bibb County Chamber, which allowed me to really talk about careers and talk about what we were doing in Bibb County to build partnerships and really talk about how we vet students to get into the right pathway so we're graduating that future workforce. So really making a connection and utilizing a partnership to have a platform to communicate, I don't know would have actually happened if we would have been in the pandemic or it wasn't like a conference or a workshop. This was something that we were able to really put together because the community and our companies, business and industry, they still need a workforce. And how do we do that? And how do we connect? And as much as we advertise and market, it's still companies that don't know how to get in touch with us. They don't know the process. They don't know what CTAE stands for. They don't know what the Career Academy actually does. So being able to have a platform that focuses strictly on the Career Academy and the work that we do at our technical college opened up a lot of conversations, some new partnerships that I think maybe I would not have been able to get to as quickly if it had not been for the pandemic. So I really think that silver lining was about building that relationship with the community and being able to get our story out continuously.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. Let me backtrack. I've got Kathy Myers monitoring the chat box for me, and she said that a question came up from Calhoun City. So Calhoun City, would you like to pose that question now?
Jenny,
Yes.
Jenny, I think, thank you, Brian. I think Brian has sent that in the chat box to everybody, and he has answered Brandy's question.
Okay. Well, can we go ahead and, for the benefit of everyone that might not be monitoring the chat like me, can we talk through that question and answer? Was that Brandy that sent the question?
Yes. And in essence, she asked if Shaw was still going to work with high school interns, and Brian has responded that they've tabled any new positions this summer due to COVID, but they're going to be restarting the opportunities this fall.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that. Mr. Whitlock, I'd like to turn the table now to Coweta County and hear about some silver lining opportunities in Noonan, if you don't mind sharing, sir.
Sure. Jenny, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Great. Jenny, one of the things that we did starting at the end of May was to bring back our technical college programs so that our dual enrolled and adult students could complete their spring semester. That's worked really, really well. Of course, there were some strict guidelines about that, and students were that they showed a lot of integrity to handle those guidelines and to finish their spring semester. We've had a number of classes who finished just today. So we are excited that students are finishing that spring semester and can move on in the fall to the next level of their dual enrollment and as adults, their technical college program. We've seen business demand pick up in our community. So we've heard companies, especially some companies in manufacturing, talk about how critical our programs are. So if there's a silver lining there, it's that perhaps the value of the College and Career Academy became even more evident in our community. We have a group of students in our audio technology program who just absolutely refused to quit on an idea that they had last year. So they've been meeting with us online just about every week, and they have begun the first Audio Engineering Society chapter in the United States at the high school level. We're excited about the collaboration they're going to have with professionals throughout the audio technology field. It's already allowed them to increase the number of internships available in our region for them as they get close to the completion of their program. So some silver linings.
Love that. Love that. Thank you. And one last person I will put on the spot. I gave you a heads up, Dave Muller. Hope you're ready. But I loved your feedback as part of your registration. If you wouldn't mind sharing silver linings from Dalton, Georgia.
Well, as to try to figure out a good way to say it, you know, Whitfield for the most part is a very, I'd say a very traditional school system. And part of my feedback was the one silver lining that I can see through that is that basically, I think Eric's already touched on it, and a few others have as well. Essentially, the face of education has changed, but not just the way we deliver instruction, you know, but the way it's even being managed and administered in dealing with teachers and staff, and realizing that, you know, you can do things differently and it'll be okay. You know, when you go back, you know, to the start of the whole career academies and the charter movement and that fight for flexibility, you know, and then obviously something like this happens, you realize, well, you know, everybody can be flexible. And I think even those hardline traditional, this is the way we've always done it, this is the way we need to do it, kind of like Eric said, you know, had this not happened last spring, we'd kind of be all in the same exact spot we are now, and probably fighting some of the same fights, not fights, but you know what I'm saying, trying to push our agenda, you know, and it's always the same agenda because you always find the same resistance to change, to the same kind of change you're looking to do. And I think, you know, when something like this happens, it kind of opens up eyes and says, okay, well, yeah, you know, we can do it like this. And especially when you look at, I remember when we started the apprenticeship program, you know, way back when, and we said we want to put kids going to work all day and have them only come to school a couple days a week. You know, at first, I mean, I think I had to go to 5 meetings just to talk about that alone. Now all of a sudden, you know, blended instruction, alternate delivery of instruction, you know, it's all good. And I think, you know, today alone, you know that over 2,000 kids in Whitfield County have applied to go completely online instruction. So, you know, I think a lot of school people are starting to realize, okay, you know, we can be creative and inventive in what we're doing, how we're delivering instruction. And then also on the Career Academy side, and this is the one thing, and I know everybody has different programs. You know, when this all happened, that list of essential, you know, all the essential workers that were listed, you know, it was funny because when you line them up to the programs that we have, they're all essential workers. And I think that too helps, you know, helps in promoting, you know, what it is that we're trying to do and the workforce that we're trying to create. So those are some of the silver linings that I've realized.
I appreciate that. Well put. And I hope you guys have utilized the genius of the network. If you've run into any obstacles during the course of trying to figure out this new norm, as you just heard from a handful of your fellow CEOs, there are a lot of themes that play throughout. Using innovation, having critical conversations, making those connections, and being productive. So I appreciate all of you guys. I've got a slew of good feedback, but for time's sake, unfortunately, I won't be able to go through all of that. But at the end of the day, all of you guys are facing very similar challenges, but I'm glad that everybody has found that silver lining and you're working hard out there for the students of Georgia. And so with that, I'm going to go ahead and transition. Mr. Pinson, you are our lead facilitator for our session on high functioning college and career academy boards. So I'll turn it over to you.
Well, thanks, Jenny. And again, thanks to my fellow co-trainers, Kathy Myers and Debbie Phillips, for working very hard to put this program together today, because what we wanted to do, first of all, is to see everyone's smiling face. And it's the one thing that I've really missed during this time. But we want to give you some good information from some of your fellow practitioners about high functioning college and career academy boards. And, you know, there's really no secret to how you have a college and a highly functioning college and career academy governing board or board of directors. It's all about engaging them in the decision-making process, engaging them individually, engaging them collectively, because that's the way they feel ownership, and that's the way they have buy-in to this whole process, this whole partnership that exists in communities where we have college and career academies. The first community I'm going to ask to share with us is one of our newer college and career academy boards in Catoosa County. They've been functioning at a very high level since their inception. Please mute yourself. Marissa Brower is our CEO, and she and Jonathan Cannell, her board chair, have made a great team in establish a very high functioning board in Catoosa County. So Marissa, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
We can.
Okay, all right, thank you. Well, Frank, I was really honored that you asked us to discuss how, you know, being a new kid on the block, that we've launched a board and are very fortunate to have a high level of engagement. Before I talk about that, though, I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank all the people in this network who so graciously shared your time and answered so many questions when I was writing the grant last year. I just, you know, I can't even name everybody, but every person I called in this network, many people let me come visit and just answered my questions. And I just want you to know how much I appreciate you helping us get a seat at this table. So I've heard a lot when I've been in these meetings about how important the superintendent is. And so we are so blessed in Catoosa County because my superintendent, Dina Reese, is amazing. And I can honestly say that I believe that is the key to one of the keys to our high level of board engagement, is because she has earned the respect and we get so much support from the community. And so she was able to ask Mr. Jonathan Cannell to serve on our board. And I cannot tell you how fortunate we are to have him as our board chair. And from the beginning, he had a vision and leadership to help our board members understand their responsibility to actually engage in working committees and decision making. He let them know right off the bat, you're not just coming here to sit and listen to a meeting, you're here to work. And so that was so important, and they respect him so much in his leadership, and that has really gotten us started very well. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to briefly share some things about our board. Jenny has some information. You can call me if you have any questions, but I want Jonathan to have most of the time for our presentation. So we transitioned our steering committee into a board of directors in January 2019. And I understand that we have a pretty large board of directors. We have 20 members, but this allows us to have at least one member representing each of our pathways. And as Frank mentioned, when people have buy-in, they're more likely to serve and be engaged. And so our board members have a vested interest in workforce development that creates talent for their industry. So when we have one person in each of those pathways, they're very engaged, and then they also have connections to help us recruit partners for our business engagement opportunities. So when Jonathan sat me down and talked to me about how critical it was for our board to drive decision making and to drive our meetings and everything, we organized our committees based on the certification standards. And this organization allows us to engage board members in the work of the College and Career Academy, and it also helps us to make sure we're following best practices. So at this time, it is my pleasure to turn our presentation over to my board chair, Mr. Jonathan Cannell. Jonathan owns a medical distribution and supply company, and he is a serial entrepreneur. So Jonathan has served on many boards, and he's going to share what he believes are the key factors to engage business leaders as active members of your board. And I tell you, I am so fortunate to have Jonathan as my board chair. I have so much respect for him, and I am so grateful for his service and his leadership and for the opportunity to learn from him. And I know that you'll enjoy listening to him today. So Jonathan?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Marissa. That was, she taught me up way much more than I deserve, I promise you. It is our honor to be here to represent the College and Career Academy of Catoosa County. Several weeks ago, I guess months ago now, when the superintendent, Dina Reese, actually asked a bunch of business leaders to come together to discuss this opportunity and kind of seeing what we thought about it, we sat around and listened, and right away there became a couple themes that we really saw that started percolating from this conversation. One of which was soft skills, which I know that as we've talked to college and career academies across the state, is one of the things that a lot of people have struggled with. As we started moving forward, I was kind of on the edge and just sitting back and listening. And what I saw was leadership from Dina Reese, and also the Catoosa County Board of Education. But Superintendent Reese did a phenomenal job of starting to ask a group of people, highly functioning people that when I saw her list of people, I thought, there's no way you're going to get some of these people in this community to sit on this board. And sure enough, I don't think that too many people said no. And right away, as we sat down, we started listening to the standards with Frank's, Frank gave us a lot of input. Jenny has been very helpful as well. And we just listened about what it is required for this school board to function. So very quickly, we started sitting back and listening. And that listening to this day has not stopped. And we really believe that's one of the keys of a highly functioning board. Because if we're going to ask these business people from the community to come in and to participate, we really do need to listen to them. Because I have served on many boards, and there's been a lot of people that, on these boards have gone to board meetings that are you just show up. They're not considered a working board. And we knew right away that if we wanted a partnership, if we wanted a long-term commitment, that there had to be, people had to show up and do work. They wouldn't say yes if they wanted to waste their time, but not just waste their time. So we really said, okay, how are we're going to show them impact of what their work does? Well, what was the number one thing that came across when we first started meeting about the potential of having it? It was soft skills. And we visit a lot of college and career academies, and we ask the questions, what are you guys doing for soft skills? And so as we listen with this is an example of the type of commitment that our leadership at Catoosa schools has demonstrated. And in that process, Marissa was writing the grant, which most of you guys know. And so as she started researching the options, she came back and right away there was some challenges. And I heard that earlier today on this call. And that's not the normal way we do it. And I don't really know all the intricacies of the school system, but I do know that kids in dual enrollment in our first pathway was Mechatronics. They did 4 days of school and they would go home on Fridays. So we said, hey, that's a great place to plug in soft skills. We're going to do that on Friday. And we got pushback. But you know, the greatest part about that process is that we have a group of people that are so committed to this. And Marissa is the #1 person that took this and ran with this to the superintendent. She ran to everybody that would listen. And finally, she got everybody on board. Because and then as a year ago now, we implemented a new process in Catoosa County, and it is the professional skills development. I understand a lot of you guys have to have professional development for your teacher certifications. Well, so what? These kids do too, because a lot of this stuff they've missed from their families. They've missed from their families. They've missed from society. We failed them in some respects. So this is an opportunity for our children to come on Fridays and get a lot of what we call IE skills, emotional education. So that emotional intelligence skills that they receive is their professional development. Just like all of you guys have to take professional development to deepen your skills as a teacher, they've got to do it just to be a professional in the environment when they walk out. So, and we have had phenomenal results. If you guys have not seen our video, I recommend anybody go on there and see the transformation some of these kids have had. If you've ever been experienced in any of our skills interactions with them, you'll see that the transformation that some of these kids have had in a very, very short period of time. But as we've done that, we've researched these options. We know that we just can't stop there, and we haven't. We have a second round coming this next year, specifically to develop the soft skills or the professional skills development for these young people. And why have we done that? Well, we've done it because we've listened, and we've listened to our business partners. And so the third part of that is we seek to involve and engage our business partners. And as we've done that, and not this, now let me be clear, the school system just didn't impose on us what we need to do. No, they listened and really started implementing from the business community, which is very impressive because I know these two worlds don't always, they collide sometimes and they don't really mesh. We have been, as a business community, I think it's even shown of how much money that we've been able to collect. I think we have about $500,000 in donations that people have projected over the next 4 years. And we really saw the community involvement when we started doing the Mechatronic pathway. We got industry leaders to come in and tell the GNTC. Heidi did a great job of getting the folks of her board in there listening. And so they built a curriculum around the needs of our community, the needs of our manufacturing. And the manufacturers walked out, and I sat there, I was in every one of those meetings. I'm not a manufacturer, but I was just so impressed of how the Georgia Technical College was willing to listen to the business community and tailor something specifically for them. And when a business people go away with that type of, hey, wait a minute, we are getting something back for what we're putting into it, we'd have no problem with participation on our board. In fact, the ownership of our board has been phenomenal. And I'm just so impressed. And it has a lot to do with the people that the Superintendent Reese originally got on this board. So as a board, we have big shoes to fill to keep up this type of ownership, to continue the engagement. And as a result, we will have phenomenal results moving forward. Our college and career academy, the professional development skills that we have, and our pathways. So as a result, we actually have hired Marissa as our CEO because there's nobody better qualified to take that mission on and continue what we're doing in the next year and the years ahead. So in a very brief summary, if I had to tell you how to get good board engagement, get the right people, and the rest of it will fall into place. So that's in a nutshell where we are, and it's my honor to serve as the president of this board and be around such phenomenal people.
Thank you, Jonathan, and thank you, Marissa. You know, as a trainer and someone who's had the privilege of working with college and career academy boards throughout the state, I really am impressed with the high level of engagement you have. But certainly, you highlighted two factors there. One of them was leadership, and that that goes without saying. But a high level of leadership, especially at the superintendent's position, is extremely important. But also being a good listener in involving people, business people, in decision making. As educators, we've got to listen to our business people. One of the silver linings of the COVID process for me has been the fact that in the month of May, the end of May, our friend Chad Walker in Newton County helped us with his expertise in the area of technology, helped us to actually conduct the very first College and Career Academy virtual certification visit. And one of the highlights of Chad's production for us was he did a great job illustrating to the visiting committee how he engages his board through the use of data. And it was very impressive, and the committee thought enough about that to really commend him for how he does that. And Chad not only uses data to engage his board in decision making, but he also uses data in the area of marketing his college and career academy. So with that having been said, I'm not going to waste any more time, and I'm going to turn it over to my friend Chad Walker.
Thank you, Frank. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. I first have to start off, we talked about leadership. So I need to give a shout out to the godmother, Dr. Mickey Edwards. Mickey Edwards took me under her wing when I was at Rockdale Career Academy, and she was the CEO before she went to Morgan County. And I will tell you, she helped me through this process. If you are a college and career academy that has a shared use facility with multiple schools in your district, and you're not showing the added value that you add to those base schools, as we call them, you are not doing yourself justice. And I would argue that even if you are a single school in your district and you're not cleaning your data to show what your CTA kids are doing and showing how their impact on your CCRPI, that you are missing something. So I say that we use data to drive our success. Everything that we do, whether it's a survey with our business industry and our partners, if you look at, we offer about 22 different pathways, and we keep reinventing what we offer at the Career Academy. We are big into the movie production in Newton County, trademarked Hollywood of the South. About 3 years ago, a big studio was coming into town, and everything was the big push with Three Ring Studios. So our board of directors, based off of the data, said, hey, we need to add a new pathway with animation. And so we did that in FY19. This is all based off of industry surveys and also trying to figure out what we need and what the interest of the kids are. Because they're our ultimate consumer. If we're offering pathways that they don't want, then we're not doing justice for our programs. If you notice, we've added sports medicine, and this year we've had ag mechanics, but there's been such an influx on my building. I just added an additional ag teacher, so now I have 3 ag teachers, and I'm adding a section through our dual enrollment that is a technical college welding. And just so that you know about my building, we serve from 3 base high schools. My students come, I have 900 students. They take CTAE and academic. So it is very important. Jenny, if you'll go down, we clean everything. We look at in the pathways. We want to show the values. We want to show what they're doing, how they're doing, and you can look at what the test is. Is it a test that is just a standard test, or is it a test that means something? I can show you that ag does not usually do well on test for the end of pathway. If you have an ag program, they probably agree with you, because the test that the state gives is based out of an Oklahoma test. And we do things differently in Georgia than Oklahoma. So it is very important to know your tests and know what they do. And I will tell you, we've changed and modified different things to make sure that we're giving relevant tests that they get certification for. If you look at the data, the next one, we try to look at our data for math, especially because if you look at Perkins, a lot of times they look at those scores for math and how that impacts. So even if you're not a course, we're always trying to dig and clean our data to make sure that we are looking at that. I will tell you that it is hard, but we try our best. If you just don't know how much data I look at, and that is just an example for math. We do that for every single subject that we teach, and those are Jenny, if you'll go ahead and go to the next slide. So what we have here, I cleaned the data and I showed my 3 base schools how we directly impact their CCRPI. So I look at all the 2s, 3s, and 4s for every kid in their building. I take out the kids that are the Career Academy kids that come to us. So if they come to us, I remove them from their data. So when you look at it, it says AHS 3s and 4s without NCCA. Their score is a 26% for 3s and 4s. You add my kids back into it, we're at 30%. So their CCRPI score went up 4.4% by adding my 68 kids that took the test in American Lit. And I do that for every single subject for all 3 base schools, because your data in what you're looking at is to try to get kids to come to your school. And let's be honest, they'll recruit against you coming to and leaving your campus, especially if it's a kid that is an intelligent kid or wants to do dual enrollment. Hey, you can do this at our school. You don't need to go over there. They don't have as good. I show you we have just as good, and it's important to know your data. My board appreciates this, because when you look at this, they want to know, because I have parents on my board and I have community members. Why would you send your kid to the Career Academy? That's the question. Here's why you'd send them to the Career Academy. Not only are you going to get a career, but you're also going to get the best academics in the county. Out of the 8 EOCs in 3s and 4s, 1 school out of the 24, we did not add value to their score. So if you look at that, some of it, it's small, but some of it, it's 6%. But I will tell you, we clean data, we look at it, our board loves, because that's what you guys do when you're you want to drive instruction and you want to drive what's coming to your Career Academy by true data. And I'm going to be quiet because I know I don't want to go over it and keep anybody.
Chad, this is great stuff. And let me take this opportunity to say that I will be sending out a link so that everyone has access to these slides. We're going to put it on our Georgia College and Career Academy Network website. So when my webmaster gets it loaded, I will send you guys notification and a link to go straight to it. But I'll tip my hat to Chad Walker in particular. He stepped up when everything hit, and we still had 2 different certification visits we were supposed to get knocked out in fiscal year 20. And Chad said, I'll be your guinea pig to be your first virtual site visit. And I don't think it could have gone any better. As a matter of fact, some of you might have received a notice from me indicating on August 5th, I'd like to have Chad go through the portal that he built for all of you guys that are on our FY21 certification schedule, because he did such a phenomenal job with that. So thanks again, Chad. And we still have a few minutes, and Marissa.
Let me share one thing.
Go ahead.
Let me share one thing. If you are one of those new people that are going through the next year, It's all Google based, and it is a site that I can share, and it is basically drop in your stuff. It is very simple and very straightforward. So do not panic. If you've got all the stuff, life is easy.
Thanks, Chad. But if I could call Marissa back up, because Jonathan Cannell, her board chair, did touch on the training that they're doing with students. And if you attended the summit and subsequent CEO meeting with us back in December when we were in Hall County, then you might remember Marissa sharing with us all what they called the ABCs. She just spoke to what that meant. She gave a handout and even showed a video. And I know I personally had a number of people approach me to ask, how can we get that curriculum? And I figured that question was still resonating out there. So Marissa, I'd like for you, if you would, take a minute to speak to where are you guys in the development process, and when do you anticipate being able to roll that out for others to use, and what will that look like?
Well, thank you again. So yes, I was overwhelmed after the meeting when I did the little presentation, and we have, we're actually using some of our grant money, the cash portion of our grant, to hire our talent development specialist. And so he has totally torn apart the old ABCs and revamped them with some really incredible changes. And he is actually a published author on Amazon. So he is working to write a curriculum that could be made available with the new ABCs, the lessons, the modules, how to teach it, and then potentially even be available to do like training. So we're going to roll out this new product, if you will, this year, but I expect that within 18 months that we'll have something that we could share.
Okay, thank you for that, Marissa. Frank, good job, Chad. Marissa, appreciate you. Jonathan, good stuff. Thanks for sharing. So we'll go ahead and transition. Kathy Myers, you are our lead facilitator for connecting the dots. So I will turn it over to you.
Okay. Thank you, Jenny. And it's great to be online with all of you for this session on connecting the dots. And I'm very fortunate to have with me as co-presenters both Eric and Katie, whom I know want to welcome you very quickly. So I'll let Katie, you want to say a word or two?
Hi, everybody. I hope you're doing well. I'm excited to be on this call and see all your faces. Hope you're not dealing with near as much stress as I am right now, but saying a prayer for all of us to hang in there and get through this.
And Eric? Eric? All right. Hey, Eric.
Hey, I got it now. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'd like to welcome everyone. I'll see everyone in person. I can promise you that. And then when I realized I was going to be on a team with Kathy and Katie, I'm thinking that's top flight right there. I am going to need to wear a tie. So I picked out a tie. Then I had a moment right there, panic. Do I even remember how to tie a tie? So after the third attempt, I got there.
We're glad you mastered that for today, Eric. Well, while realizing that there is so much reporting and data tracking that you do in your day-to-day affairs within your academies, what we'd like to do for a few minutes is to really focus on three in particular that really drive your continuous improvement. And so you'll see a quick funnel graphic with the three that we're going to address, and primarily Eric and Katie are going to use their academies and their perspectives with examples for each of these and how they're all interconnected. All right, Jenny, next one. So here's the question, and we want to leave you with this question today. And this is the question that Eric and Katie will be answering by looking at their reports. I think someone's maybe needs to mute, but
Yeah, please mute if you're not speaking. Thank you.
if you can't, that's okay. But anyway, what information from these methods of reporting and data tracking can you keep at the forefront to drive your growth and your continuous improvement? All right, Katie next. Jenny next. So anyway, we're going to look at the annual report first, and specifically, we know this can be a very cumbersome, detail-oriented report that you do annually by November 1st, but we want to hone in on the innovations and academic tabs particularly, because those really reflect, I think, the spirit of academies throughout Georgia. And so all of you know the first three questions are those that are asked of you. However, we want to call your attention to an added question that asks that when you are looking at your innovative practices and reassessing those every year, that you really pay attention to the standards from the certification process and make sure you're trying to align those standards to your innovative features and practices. So with that, ready, Katie? We're going to start with Katie, and she's going to address it specifically for Polk and talk through with you some of their innovative practices and where they are right now.
Yes, we update this every year. We have several practices that we implement in our academy from our HON Project Success program that is basically a small version of the Southwire program that we created locally here with HON Manufacturing. We're in our 6th year of that, and it does an incredible job touching our at-risk students, but also connecting them to manufacturing. And we've seen nothing but success out of that program. We launched Graduate Polk Student Success Centers in our schools that really provide wraparound services as well as career services, meet all needs of our students from food pantry to clothing closets to any need that a student may have. And we launched that under our College and Career Academy this past year, 2 years ago now. And it's been nothing but success in providing an alternate path for students as well. We changed our work-based learning coordinators to also be career coaches this past year with U-Science and making sure that everybody takes an assessment and connecting them, just like we use our college and career transition coordinators to connect dual enrollment. We're using our work-based learning / career coaches to connect those career opportunities as well, because I think that's often a forgotten piece. We work so hard sometimes to connect the college dots that the career piece is often forgotten. And then we have a really robust, or should I say had a really robust dual enrollment program until the new House bill kind of put some parameters on there that we're having to work around. But one of the practices that we're using in our district is our school board has stepped up, and they are going to pay this year for our students that were in the associate's degree track that are now being capped by the 12 hours because they already had a certain number of hours under their belt. And our school board is going to pay for them to finish their associate's degrees this year. They do not want an obstacle standing in the way from these kids finishing. So we're trying to having to go back and revise how we do that now to work under those parameters that have been in place. But we're still going to continue to offer as many opportunities to our students and using those innovative practices and the flexibility that we have under our waivers to be able to do that.
All right, Eric.
Okay, what we're talking about here is the interfacing of academy reporting. You've got the TCSG certification report, the Godot annual report, your strategic planning. And what we need to be cognizant of is that it is all interconnected, and let's make this work for everyone. So I'm going to focus right now on the strategic plan. We developed a strategic plan with Ford NGL, and that ties into certification S2A1. And hold on one second. People came in and I had to shut the door. Okay, so we worked diligently. Frank actually started this, and we did a strategic plan. We had over 50 individuals. It became rather lengthy, and we learned a lesson from this. It became 122 pages, and my business and industry sort of reacted to that and said, this is a great document, but we need to try a different approach next time. So, and I'll have more on that later. Additionally, what about innovations and unique features? That is certification S4A9, And so I'll talk to you about a couple of innovations that are being driven out of our certification process. Let's innovate something. So, for example, we have a need for an HVAC company. Bartow County does a great job on that. But I can't, all my pathways are aligned with local economic need. So to enable to establish a pipeline for HVAC internships and subsequently employees, I called up 3 different HVAC companies. They came and sat down with us, and they are going to provide us equipment at no cost. They're going to provide us with some teaching modules and such, and we're going to provide them with internships. So we thought that was extremely successful. We also have a CNA program that a nursing home reached out to us and supplied us 3 nurses to help facilitate the program. And I think I mentioned this earlier in another program when the pandemic occurred. We were able to support that nursing home with 20 individuals. That was of their own choice. Everybody is still safe and well, and they're getting CNA certified through the business partnership with the nursing home. Additionally, to echo what Katie said, the dual enrollment, we have a lot of dual enrollment like Katie, and like Katie says, it's going to diminish to a degree, but we have a lot of technical college dual enrollment in our engineering pathway, and additionally our welding program. This is a large volume of students, and they're very successful. With a 30-hour cap, some of these students are not going to burn their Hope hours. So through partnership with the technical college and Dr. Heidi Popham and our superintendent and Floyd County Board of Education, we like Katie, are going to pay for these individuals to continue on those pathways. So we're really happy about that. Our strategic planning process, once again, is morphed from the Ford NGL days to a shorter version, but with more input from local facilities. Strategic planning for us has become an ongoing process throughout, and I'll tell you more about that later. Thank you.
All right. And if I can add one more thing about the innovative practices, and again, all of, we're pretty good. One thing we like to do in education is steal ideas and make modifications with innovations in our own academy. So you heard a good bit from both of them about various, unique things that they're doing to serve their students. So I want to put a plug in for what's going to come after today. In your evaluation, there's going to be one question at the very end that's going to ask all of you to submit what you would consider your innovation or unique best practice that you're most proud of at your academy. And what we're going to begin to do is try to compile all of those and create a statewide database that could be shared and used at future trainings and future meetings. So thank you all for doing that at the very end. We'll shift gears a bit to the academic mission. Most of you are familiar with the 10 items that have to be reported on this tab. So Katie and Eric now are going to take a few minutes and look at theirs specifically and highlight a few things about that tab within their reporting.
A lot of this we talked about just a minute ago, so I won't go into too much detail, but obviously the number of college credits earned, students in work-based learning, we've seen a large increase of that just because of the number of students that earn multiple credits before entering high school. We've actually had to go back and revise how many we'll allow them to bring into the high school because we have so many that only need one class by the time they get to the high school level. But that also allows for more of those work-based learning internship opportunities. So we're trying to capitalize on that. As well as our graduation rate has continued to increase using the Perkins measures of the number of students that are in the College and Career Academy. Obviously, last year, one of our high schools had 100% of those enrolled. So we're very proud of that. And the number of that earn the technical certificates, we're struggling in some regard for that because a lot of ours are wanting to use their dual enrollment hours towards core credits rather than specific. So we're working with our technical college to overcome those obstacles now that those parameters have been put in place.
Okay. Pretty much a lot of what Katie said we're doing. I steal her ideas and then we move forward from there. But I want to tie this back into what I was talking about, the strategic plan. Instead of having one entity come in and develop it, which was great, we're now on an ongoing strategic plan analysis, and we're using a lot of different entities. For example, and I shall read, We pull on, of course, the annual report and certification suggestions. We also have a performance contract with the DOE. You've got the Perkins 5 goals, TCS certification standards, school system strategic plan, CCA strategic plan, president and office of the Rome Floyd County Economic Development, Chamber of Commerce, and most importantly, the CCA board in conjunction with local business and industry. Also, the Workforce Investment Act, and because it is all about local economic development. And what I term this is, it is a very large and shared table for the benefit of local economic success. Thank you.
Jenny, can you back up to that slide just one quick second? What I want to mention here is that you saw on the slide of Katie's that I had listed the aligned standards, and the nice thing about this particular tab for reporting is that most of these items under this tab really do align really well with the standard on teaching and learning, and also on economic workforce and economic development within the TCSG certification process. Almost all of those. I just did a few as examples. Okay. Thank you, Jenny. All right, and now we're going to take a second and let them, or a few minutes, and let them answer this question with regard to their most recent certification visits and any required action or suggestions that they want to talk through in terms of how they interface that within their reporting processes and planning processes.
I think we can all agree, and those are you that are new to this process, you will soon be baptized into knowing how this works. But we are master multitaskers as far as the reporting, because we report to a lot of people, as Eric stated earlier. We do strategic plans, we do technical college reports, we do SACS reports, we do, you name it. We're meeting all these from Perkins to our local boards of education and what they're asking us to do. So the more we can align all of the reporting measures and the standards and to make them match, the better off we are. But in our business, is it critical that we're having conversations? Like, for example, we attend the intergovernmental meetings here in our county, the economic development and the chamber meetings. And through those meetings, as I'm sure many of you do, we found out that our volunteer fire departments are not being able to meet the need in our county. So we were able to have those conversations and launch a fire science program this next year at our academies to try to help meet that need. But we don't know about those needs unless we're at the table having those conversations. And I know that many of you participate in those as well as we do. But those are that's where the rubber meets the road. If we just stay in our buildings, we won't ever know about the opportunities that are outside. So that's why it's critical that we continue to have those conversations and have those collaborative partnerships that many of you have mentioned already. So that's something we're adding this next year to try to meet our local need.
Okay, I'm gonna have a little bit different take. I agree with everything Katie says, as usual. And so the certification report, I'm still talking about that and focusing about the certification report. Use that to your advantage. If you have not been through this process before, it is a learning environment, but you can also, know more about your facilities and such. So you can ask to have some items placed in there. For example, we have a wonderful partnership with our technical college, but it does not hurt to have in that report that maybe we need to have a more formal facilities plan, both short-term and long-term. In the certification report can help you with operational issues. Many who've been here, we have one road in, one road out, 900 people going and coming. And so that's problematic. And we were really gaining some traction until the pandemic came. We had some land acquisition options and such. And also, I know if you're CEO, inside our certification report, they gave us a commendation because I sit on the superintendent's executive cabinet, which is critical. Now, many times I wish I was not there and doing something else, but you need to be at the table. So if you're a CEO of a college and career academy, please work with an entity like the certification process to get a recommendation that you sit at the table with the superintendent. It is valuable and it will pay dividends in the long run. Thank you.
Okay. And just as an aside, I see 2 questions in the chat box, and we'll come back to those. Katie, you and Eric, if you can check them as well, you may be able to see those. But we'll go back to that because it's regarding the annual report. Once we get to the end, I think we'll have plenty of time to take those right at the end. But anyway, as we look at strategic planning, this is just a quick slide to show you two things. You've got the flowchart graphic of the process, which most of you are very familiar with because you're leaders within not only your academy, but in your district. So you're at the table as key players in that process. And then to the right, you'll see kind of the key components of strategic planning, which is really you always have to constantly assess and reassess because you want to engage all your stakeholders to affect change and always leverage those best practices and highly effective practices while constantly monitoring and your data to improve your outcomes.
So I talked to the school system attorney today. He said that they want the case.
Dwayne Sproul, could you mute yourself? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hey, let me ask John's, answer John's question. Hey, John, the number of students that are employed, that is the one piece of data that I'm least comfortable with. I do not have the capability for us to get that in and by itself. So I work with a technical college. And also I was fortunate to work with the Chamber of Commerce, who has hired an entity, Georgia Tech, and they have a lot of data and measurements that pertain to our area. So that is not 100% accurate, I am sure, but it's as close as I can get.
Katie, do you want to add anything about that? That was on the academic mission, that last item.
Oh, we just make it up. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Everybody needs to laugh at this point.
Absolutely.
We do. We have a senior project that all of our kids are required to do their senior year, and it has a career capstone aspect to it. But as part of that, we ask them to complete a senior survey before they can exit with their senior projects and their presentations. And with that, we ask them to give us email addresses. So we email them. Once we get ready to fill out the report, that's our best way of contacting them based on that. Do we get all of them? No, but we email and do a short survey, and that's how we collect what data we can. I mean, there's no perfect way to do that, but that's just been what we found to work best for us.
Okay, thank you, Katie. This last one, this is the next to the last slide, but in essence, Katie and Eric are going to address this, but we know that you want to use your annual reporting and your certification outcomes to be embedded and to be included in your strategic planning. So they're going to talk through quickly how they address that. So Katie, if you want to maybe go first with what yours looks like in Polk.
Yes, our strategic plan looks just like our school districts. And we have our College and Career Academy Board of Directors on several of our committees for our school districts. So when we get together in the spring and review the different areas, then they're an active participant in the districts, which I think is important because your academy should align with your district missions. Is it going to be different? Yes. But overall, it's kind of what we talk about, and it's Marissa and them, they discussed it in their board. If you don't have the same type of mission and vision as your school district, you're not moving in the same direction, you got a problem. So we meet with them. It's a great opportunity for our board to interact with our school board as well. We have collaborative school board, College and Career Academy board meetings. We at least have one a year. Frank is also usually involved in those when we have them. So we have a great group of people that work together. So that helps us. And then we come back at our next board of directors meeting for the academy, and then we meet and discuss, how should ours be different? What are the elements that need to be added to make sure that we're meeting all of our certification standards for the College and Career Academy? But we do that once a year and evaluate that and update. But we also have at the bottom like actions that are 3 to 7 years out. So you've got your yearly plan, but then you also can see forward towards the future as well. So that works well for us. And compared to the 122 pages that Eric was talking about, ours is only a page.
Hey, ours is now turned into 3 pages. So I'm doing better. Our alignment with the College Academy strategic plan and the system strategic plan is not as refined as Katie's. We have an invitation to all the board members to visit with us. And then strategic planning for us occurs really at each meeting, but formally twice a year. And what my role in this is to facilitate and then report back to the Floyd County Board of Education. So they are aligned to that degree, but we do not have the formal meetings together. I think that's a great idea. Need to investigate that. So pretty much everything like Katie is stating is we integrate to the degree we can, but they've been able to give us flexibility to, like the HVAC. I don't really have to go to the Board of Education on that one. They turn us loose to accomplish the mission, and then we report back. So it's a little bit less formal.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you all got to see the contrast there. And while realizing that there was a period when many of the academies were doing the forward NGL because there was some money available for that, and those were very extensive documents. Most of you are probably have simplified down to an annual, basically an annual plan or an action plan that is a lot more simplistic in nature, such as Katie and Eric's now. So we want to leave you with just this same question we started with. We've gone full circle, and just really encourage you and challenge you to keep this question in mind. Many of you probably already are, but doing that in terms of how are you going to use your reporting outcomes for these that we've talked about, and I'm sure others that other avenues of reporting you have to do, including your CCRPI, to ensure that your academy plans very effectively and efficiently for ongoing improvement. So Katie and Eric, I'll kind of let you close us out if you want to make any final comments.
I would like to comment. Jenny, can you scroll down a little bit where it says roadmap? No, go back up a little bit.
It's
one
the
more.
quote. I think it's the quote, Jenny, on the previous one. Can you see it? Okay.
If you don't know where you're going to end up someplace else. And I always thought Frank Pinson said that, but now I found out it's Yogi Berra.
Well, Katie, are you still with us?
Yeah, Katie?
I am. And my final comments would just be for everybody to hang in there. I think that we're very blessed to have a network like this. And as Marissa said, we have great collaborative partners in this network. There's not a person that you can't call on to say, hey, how are you doing this? That's not willing to help. And I think that that's what we all have to remember, and especially in times such as this. And I appreciate Kathy and Eric being wonderful partners as always.
Hey. And Katie, I'd like to take this opportunity. I'm going to put you on the spot for a minute because I know you can handle it. But your certification visit is a little bit fresher in my mind. No offense, Eric, but I'd like for you to speak to some things that I can remember really popped out when we were in Polk County and the team was doing the review. One, I want to emphasize to everyone, you probably heard Katie say a minute ago, and she is not the only one that does this, and I consider it a best practice. But an annual joint board training between your local Board of Education and your Career Academy board. That's critical to be sure everyone is on the same page. But two things really, Katie. Number one, as I recall, you guys mandated that all of your, was it 8th or 9th graders had to do a job shadowing activity, and it was their responsibility to figure out the dynamics of that.
All seniors, as part of their capstone project, have to do a minimum of 8 hours.
Okay. And it's on them. You guys don't handhold them unless they need help, but they have to find the company and get their foot in the door on their own to figure out that 8 hours of job shadowing.
Yes, it's part of their senior project requirements, the capstone project. And we give them an excused absence to do it. That is if they want to do it all in one day. Now our career coaches they will step in and help with the process if it's one that's difficult, and we're in a more rural area, so some of them are hard to find, so they will help arrange some of those shadowing opportunities. But yes, it is the student's ultimate responsibility to make sure that they get those 8 hours in.
I love that. And another piece that you touched on it a little bit about the district's going to step up and help pay for students that were on their way to finishing an associate's degree. But to my knowledge, Polk County College and Career Academy historically has had the largest number of students graduating simultaneously with an associate's degree. Can you speak to how you guys plan that out?
Well, we've over the past several years developed a really good plan as far as our students and what we offer on our campus. Ours is majority on our campus. We've offered 26 different courses. Obviously, we've had to alter that this past year, but we had everything planned out to where how they would take them, like get 4 in one period, and how they would progress through our sequencing to be able to complete that associate's degree. This past year, we had 21 graduate with an associate's degree 2 weeks before their high school. And that was an associate's degree with the university system, but they also took classes with the technical college system as well. And in addition to those 21 that graduated, we had probably almost 300 with 45 plus hours or more. So being very detailed and not letting students just select a hodgepodge, we have those positions that we've created in our schools, the college and career transition coordinator positions. If you don't have one of those, I don't know how you have to get one, but those are very instrumental in that. But because our board has seen our continued success of our students, and they know that this is not just something, and even when I talked to the legislators in the spring when we were fighting so desperately to keep this, you know, we said this is not something that they just fly by night start picking their junior and senior year. We start talking this from the time they come from 8th grade into 9th grade. It is a plan that the students have in place, not just something they're selecting. And because we've had that, we've seen such great success. And because of that, our board is stepping up to the plate and putting $60,000 in our budget to allow this next group to be able to finish, because we'll have over 20 plus students do it again this year.
Wonderful. And as I recall, you guys gave all of those graduates a laptop or?
Yes, we have historically, we started that with our first group of like 4 students and the group has grown significantly. And so that's been one of my challenging obstacles for my fundraising committee. The College and Career Academy has purchased each of those graduating students a MacBook, and we give those to them at the end of the year when they earn their associate's degrees.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, thank you, Kathy, Katie, Eric. As always, you guys do a great job. You've got their contact information here, everyone, if you'd like to follow up with any one of them individually. And again, I will give you access to this entire presentation very soon. So thanks again. And we will transition now to none other than Debbie Phillips, our next lead facilitator.
Well, thank you, Jenny, and hello, everyone. It's a meaningful Monday, and I'm fired up, and I'm ready to welcome you to Cassandra and Mark's presentation. You know, in thinking about today, I love this quote, always remember that leadership is a privilege, and when you're in a leadership role, your influence may affect the trajectories of people's entire careers and often their lives. And, you know, as we think about our theme for our session this afternoon, next level leadership, I always call your attention to, and I call it the power of intention. If you think about, I don't know about you, but when I'm at a restaurant and I'm at a high top table and it's rickety or one leg is uneven and I feel like my food's going to fall in my lap, it reminds me a lot of what we're talking about with next level leadership. And I always think about the core 4 things that is required of leadership. And first of all, it's attitude and leadership. You know, you don't have to have a title to be a leader. But as Katie and Jonathan and others were talking, I use a term not networking, but net weaving. Look at how all of us are woven together. And today we're certainly honing our personal and our professional skills, but this entire afternoon is really intended for us to scale our success and take it to the next level. I was motivated and inspired by all the silver linings that you shared with Jenny in the survey earlier. And I love what the father of positivity says, Norman Vincent Peale. He says, a positive thinker does not refuse to recognize the negative. He refuses to dwell on it. And positive thinking is a form of thought which habitually looks for the best in the worst situations or the worst conditions. And so as we're talking about measuring engagement and really looking at what does our return on engagement look like, I talk about return on energy. You know, the juice has to be worth the squeeze. And when you think about engagement, you want to strive for that triple win for our students to win, our educators to win, and our employers to win. And I personally selected Cassandra and Mark because, you know, sometimes you hear about, oh, well, you're in Atlanta and it's the other part of the state, or the haves and the have nots. And I thought Cassandra and Mark really had incredible examples to share with you about their non-negotiables and how they measure return on engagement. So without any further ado, Cassandra Washington, W.S. Hutchins College and Career Academy.
Thank you, Debbie. I appreciate it. And I do want to say thank you, Debbie, for giving me this opportunity and allowing me to present with the godfather of College and Career Academies. That's always an honor. So I do want to say thank you, Mark. So really today, really want to share information about, is your governing board engaged? Are they a part? And I know a lot of times when we run through obstacles, we tend to forget what's important. And so I want to talk about adjusting expectations and protocols. We really, in this time with school, and we all know the big F word, and it's not the one we're going to bleep out, is that flexibility, about making sure we're flexible. Because today can be one thing and tomorrow could be something else. So we really need to stay engaged, not forget the governance board, because they can be that true support, that pillar that we need to really help us through there. And then evaluating the impact, supporting the engagement, and then leveraging the resources. It is so many resources that we don't touch, that we're not aware of. So we really want to talk about this. And it kind of picks right up from what Katie and Eric talked about, was that strategic plan. And a lot of times we think that that work is so huge that how am I going to get that done? So I want to kind of show you and talk to you from this point of how you can look at what your district is doing. And I have a copy of our strategic map, is what we call it, because each layer, all the way from learning and growth to student achievement, is our strategic map. And you'll see the individual's objectives inside of each overarching goal. So when you think about learning and growth, I always look at the College and Career Academy as it is imperative that we recruit and retain the right people, because we actually pick the individuals that are from industry. But we need to make sure that just because they're from industry, that they know how to articulate their skill set to the classroom, to students, and really make that important. In Bibb County at the Career Academy, I look for individuals that I can vet. I'm looking for individuals that have the skill set that I can vet. And that actually came from the governance board, because when you have someone that works directly for you, that makes a big difference. It really gives us some insight on how we can merge the individual. So all the teachers here at Hutchins College and Career Academy work not only for Bibb County, but they work part-time for Central Georgia Tech, because they are dual enrolled certified. We also want to make sure that the value and cultures are really taken into place. And we do that in reference to what do we believe? And we believe about the 3 Ps at the Career Academy. We want people to be professional, present. We want them to definitely be a part. So we set that tone from day one. So that's important to us. And then as we move up, we talk about processes, we talk about perception. And that's where I really think the Career Academy, because I always say to our superintendent, we're the centerpiece. I can touch all of the kids in Bibb County at the high school level. So the perception that the Career Academy has is valuable to the school district. And then when we talk about knowing technology, now that's an understatement now, going virtual. So how did the Career Academy go virtual? How did we ensure we met the lab requirements? What did we do that was unique? So when you start thinking about a map that's already done, how can you take that map, which is what the district uses, and we connect it? The Career Academy sits highly in all of them, but we touch all 3 in student and stakeholder engagement and student achievement. We are all about that post-secondary option, increased post-school readiness, and the increase in content mastery. So what I want to say is, when you're there with your governance board, you have to have a roadmap. You cannot keep industry engaged without a roadmap. And this roadmap has to be clear, concise, that everyone understands. So any activity that I bring in front of that governance board, it has to fall into one of those places. That's the only way they're going to listen and approve. So as you're thinking about your plan and what you're doing, what's the purpose? You want to make sure you stay there. And that aligns you back to that community, because all of that equals to the workforce. It's about the main results is our workforce, that future workforce. The other piece of engagement, when you start thinking about the impact and that supporting engagement and leveraging resources, I know many of you serve in multiple roles. I will say the upcoming year, I have been blessed to serve now as the CEO, the principal, and the CTAE director. I think somebody thinks it's multiple Cassandras, but we'll see how that works out for me. So Katie, thank you for sending prayers out. Make sure you call my name, okay? But I do want to say that if you're not partnering with your CTAE director, you're missing a huge opportunity, because Perkins 5 is exactly the work the Career Academy is doing. You have all of the partners. You are a strong piece of the puzzle when you start trying to develop that comprehensive local needs assessment. The work that you do every day is really that CTAE plan, and you can put your money involved in that. What you need. Do you need a new lab? Do you need multiple pieces? So you really want to think about that, so you can definitely be a part of that. You also want to think about the piece of the puzzle of how do you leverage other district partners. I say this over and over, another BFF for me in the district is Title I. Whether it's Title I, Title IV, Title II, it doesn't matter. You fit in there. Title IV actually helped me do my dual enrollment summer school enrichment, all online. So the governance board said, we don't want to give that up. How can we leverage that? Who can help us with that? So we actually did, and I vetted 2 Spanish teachers. I did a econ teacher. So we used Title I funds to pay the academic teachers that met the requirements to actually keep dual enrollment summer school enrichment going. So I really want you to think about how that can work in your favor. It does create where you need to understand the laws and the rules, but here's the piece of that strategic map. The goal of Title I is what? Student achievement. What's my goal? Student achievement. So we are married right together. The other piece is I want to talk to you about is that workforce pipeline. And Jenny has pulled this up, and I will give Georgia Power a shout out every time I open this book. The governance board wanted us to have a guide that parents could have, that individuals could actually be a part of, and really almost like that curriculum balance sheet that you could know exactly what you need to do from 9th grade all the way up. So partnering with Title I, we decided that we would offer freshman seminar courses. That came straight from where? Nashville. Nashville Academies. That's one of the courses that they offer to build up their pieces of the puzzle for pathways. So we offer freshman seminar, put our own spin on it, and these books will go to every freshman, and we have it virtually, and we will have hard copies for the students. And this will give the students an opportunity to do this. What's unique about it that I never thought about, because I was just saying, get my pathways in there. So you see the pathways on there. We gave a shout out to Georgia Power, and I'm going to show you what Georgia Power asked for at the end, and the Greater Macon Chamber. But Jenny, if you would go to page 19 for me.
Oops.
That's okay. You can stay right there. I can go from here. Okay. So what you'll see is what we ended up doing. Our governance board wanted this book to be specialized just for Bibb County. They wanted the kids to think about the jobs and the companies here. So when you look at the top employers, those aren't employers that are in Atlanta. They're right here in Macon-Bibb County. They're in a 45-mile radius of our school district. So when you start thinking about companies that they could work for that align back to this pathway, you want them to think about this. So the Industrial Authority was very instrumental. We worked with Matt Pointer. He actually gave me all of this data for this booklet. So the salaries are aligned to Macon-Bibb. So when we're working through this, we're not talking about a big city. We're not talking about a rural city. We're talking about Macon-Bibb County. And this was a piece of the puzzle when you start thinking about those community industry partnerships. So on every page, you will see an individual company that's local, and all of our salaries are local. So this is a Bibb County booklet. So when we talk about specialized, for a student to understand, this is what we're referencing. And then Jenny, if you'll go to the last end of the book for me.
How many pages we got?
Go right back, go right back. There you go.
There we go.
Okay, so Georgia Powell wrote Bibb County a $15,000 check so I could have a graphic designer work with me, create the book so it would be eye-catching. Remember, it is all about perception. You want a parent to see multiple pictures. I wanted diversity. I wanted them to see men, women, African Americans, Caucasians, Asians. I wanted them to see it. And all they wanted was a spread in the back to talk about their workforce and their opportunities. So for $15,000, they got a page in the back, but that means a whole lot for them. But it also means a whole lot for us because it was the perception that they wanted. And all that comes from conversation and that strategic map, that alignment, that engagement. And this all came through the pandemic. And so when you start thinking about having some quiet time, I guess, for a moment, allowed us to meet and really look at this. This was a big piece of the puzzle, and we didn't want to lose sight of that. So the kids will be able to use it online in freshman seminar. They'll also get a hard copy of the booklet as well. And throughout the booklet, we have youth science mentioned, which all of our freshmen will take youth science. But we also have a quick career assessment, like if you're a thinker, if you're it says workforce or worker bee, that's in the booklet, and they can just answer some quick questions, and then it is aligned back to pathways. So as you start thinking about building those relationships and how you can connect the pieces of the puzzle, it's about that governance board. Your governance board has to be engaged so they can provide you with clear direction. It can't be my show. I can't just do a dog and pony show for the meeting. If you have a strategic plan, then they know the work that you need to do. So this makes a huge difference in what we do for students each and every day. So I'll turn it back over to you, Debbie, and we can get ready for more. Thank you.
Okay, I say let's give it to the Godfather, Mark.
Debbie, thank you. Can you hear me?
We can.
Great. Thank you very much. Always an honor to present with you and with Cassandra. Cassandra, thank you for what you've done at Hutchings. It's been amazing to watch you do that work. When Debbie talked with us about maximizing board member engagement, I wanted to find an object lesson at CEC. It always helps me if I can drill down to a story and then back out to what that story teaches us. So I'm going to drill down to option B and start with a couple of slides, Jenny, that talk about some of those non-negotiables that Debbie had us flesh out. The earliest non-negotiable that I've got is that top line. That came from our community when CEC was started. It didn't come from education. And it didn't come from business alone. It came from the combination of the two. And they said this: an early economic win for our students equals lifetime success for them and an improving quality of life for us all. What they determined was what the Professional Association of Georgia Educators later on asked about college and career academies. Why can't we do by age 18 what it seems to take many students in our state and around the country until age 27 to achieve? That's the average age of a technical or community college student across the country, 27. Our community said, why can't we do that by 18? And so as part of the non-negotiables to help get us to that roadmap, the end of that roadmap that Cassandra talked about, the board was focused on a special workforce mission. This mission, option B, focused on particular talent that was needed in the community. The board developed processes that helped us get to that mission success. They listened to other stakeholders. They listened to what an option B approach might mean for particular companies. That board evidenced that they were a joint venture and that they are a joint venture. In a joint venture, various stakeholders, in our case, the local school system, the regional technical college, and local businesses, those folks all said, we need to come to the table together. We need to do what each of us does best. And we need to kind of get out of the way and let's see what happens when we mix all that together. The board reflects ownership by everybody in the joint venture. We've seen it all in some college and career academies. One or another takes ownership of an effort. A true joint venture, and we've all had it from time to time where one or the other did, a true joint venture is a place where everybody owns it. Everybody participates, everybody's engaged. And our board in this process governed with a focus on those processes that evidenced a joint venture and that helped us all to own the opportunity to create a better quality of life for the entire community. In that next slide, Jenny, we talk about trusting the process of that effort and that leading to the outcomes of engagement. Well, in this particular effort to get to option B, we focused on change that was requested by business. They needed particular talent. In point 2, that change was driven by the CEC board. They developed the processes that allowed themselves to drive that change. That change was implemented and delivered by all the owners represented on that board. That change led to success for business and continues to lead to that. And that change led back to our first statement, that end of the roadmap, that earliest economic win for our students. Jenny, if we could advance to 4 minutes and 20 seconds in the video, let me introduce this. This is a panel pre-pandemic who got together, a group of families who said, we want to talk about our experience in dual enrollment graduation option B. These are some of the pioneers in our county, and I would say in our state. You're going to hear 2 members of that family. Jenny will go from that point to 11 minutes and 10 seconds. You're going to hear from 2 families. The parent of the first student talks about being the parent of a frustrated student. And the second family you'll hear is represented by one of our guidance counselors in our school system who really gets it. When we get our board members engaged, these are the outcomes that we can help to drive. Jenny, if you'll play that video.
Well, trying here, Mark.
Okay.
All right, let's see. I apologize. Let me move it back, see if that might help.
Okay, sure.
Move it and then I'll advance it.
Sure.
Well, I promise you it worked for me previously. Let's refresh here.
Okay. Jenny, we might just have too much traffic on the web. I can summarize what those two families will tell you if you'd like to move on.
We'll do that. I'm sorry, but I will send this link out so that everyone has access to it. Sorry
Okay.
again.
Okay. If you'll leave that first shot up there with all the panelists.
Mm-hmm. And now it's going to disappear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to pop back up.
Okay. All right. You would have heard in the middle of the panel a mom who talks about her son being totally frustrated with school. We introduced him to dual enrollment, graduation option B. We brought him over to Central Educational Center so that he could take a look at programs that were involved in that, and he fell in love with welding. He talks about in his presentation the family that his class, his program in West Georgia Technical College welding became for him. I'll finish up that story by telling you that he works today with Alta Refrigeration in our area. He had 4 or 5 offers as soon as he was graduating from high school. I can tell you that Alta has him in a welding position in-house. When he gets on the road, as have some other students, he'll probably be making $80,000 to $100,000 a year. And this was a student who was totally frustrated with high school. The next speaker that you would have heard is the senior guidance counselor among those in our high school system in Coweta County. And she would have talked about her son, who she thought option B would be a great opportunity for. He wasn't interested until he heard one of his peers talk about option B and about how you could get paid to do this internship while you're in high school. Her son is finishing that program. He'll be taking his international certification exams this year. He's with one of our multinational companies, loving it. Totally different path to finishing high school for him, and for the company, tremendous win. Great talent that they've been looking for, but couldn't get people interested in. He will be one of the top performers among our German apprentices when he graduates. And to hear her tell it, he never even thought about college. He will almost be finished with his associate degree from West Georgia Tech when he graduates. He'll have a great job, and both of them have a great future. Jenny, I'll close it out by saying that option B is a great way for our board to remind ourselves that we're about that earliest economic win. How can we get students to a much higher economic position in their life at a much earlier age? It drives engagement, and our board is certainly engaged. And Dr. Debbie Phillips, thank you for always encouraging the engagement of our board.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I've been to both, and you both do an incredible, incredible job. So thank you again for your presentations. And Jenny, we are 5 minutes ahead of schedule, so back to you.
We are, and I wanted to pull this slide up in particular. If you guys wanted to make a quick note, I'm sorry about the technical difficulties. We weren't able to play it, but that link that you see there should take you to that video if you want access to it prior to me being able to send out the entire slide deck. Great stuff, obviously. The Godfather's always got good information. Dr. Washington, obviously you always have a lot of good information to share as well. And I would like to take this opportunity to, I know that there was a lot of chatting activity in the chat box when we pulled up your career guide, Cassandra. People are wanting to know how they can get a copy of it, how you were able to secure $15,000 from Georgia Power to make it possible. So could you speak to a little more as it relates to that guide, if people wanted to mimic that in their own district? What would your advice be to move that effort forward?
Yes, ma'am. If you'll go back to it, I'm going to show some other pieces to them. I know we were tight on time. If we have a moment,
okay,
and kind of share it.
You know what? I think I closed it out too.
Oh, okay. I think if you click on the new link I sent you, it will work. Is that the new one or is that the old one?
That is an old link, I do believe. Let's try.
Okay. It is the old one. That's the old one.
Okay.
Okay. Well, what I will tell you is in the career guide, I just carried that back to the governance board in reference to their strategic map. And we talked about perception. We talked about how do we grow the numbers? How do I get to every student, every parent? And that's kind of where I was on the educational side. But governance board being business and industry, they had the same things. We understand what you're saying, but we don't know what it looks like. And I'll give you an example. Purdue actually was a brand new partner, and they came to us and he had no idea of what we had. He actually came to us because he saw what Houston County had done with Frito-Lay, and he wanted his own thing. So I kind of got the second choice. I was the second choice at that time, but it didn't bother me. I said, okay. And he actually came down, and I realized at that point, I had been doing a lot of marketing, but it wasn't clear to kids. So when you think about it, he came down and wanted to start an industrial maintenance program. That doesn't sound very appealing to a parent because they're thinking doctor, lawyer, educator, engineer. So this booklet allowed us to create that because he actually during the pandemic took 2 students, made them interns, and actually while I was on the call, we received an email that they've offered both of those gentlemen full-time employment at Purdue. So when you think about being able to take something and now create a picture and give it to students and parents so we can start that conversation on what is industrial maintenance. So parents can now see the local companies that it's attached to so they can understand what that average salary is here in Macon. And that was that connection with the governance board. And that was also about the $15,000 because they were like, can you do this booklet? And I was like, I can. But what I want it to look like, I need a graphic designer. I have a graphics teacher, but she has to teach. She has to do college classes. I want my own personal graphic designer that I can go back and forth with, decide who I want on the cover, what I want it to look like, pick the cover color out. I just want someone at my beck and call. And so they were like, okay, if you can find someone, we'll pay it. Well, that was the wrong answer for them, not knowing me. So that's what I did. I found someone who understood CTAE. The gentleman who created the booklet he was a CTAE director, graphic designer, had done this in other states. And we were the first one in Georgia to be able to get something like this done. $15,000 allowed me to get a electronic copy. It allowed me to also get enough booklets for 9th and 10th graders because my 10th graders missed it because they were 9th graders last year. And we left before the pandemic, before school, we didn't get to have our normal class. So this was an opportunity to go back and get that done. And that's also some seed money for me to go back next year and do what? Make any changes. So we basically connected with this gentleman so we can make changes. And the piece that I didn't share is the chamber and the governance board says that they need the individuals that are in the booklet to partner, to be a partner of the Career Academy. So you're not going to see every business because every business is a partner. So now this booklet now becomes a what for us? A selling tool to get them to become partners so they can be one of those top employers inside of that booklet. So it was all, I won't even take credit for this. This was all of industry and business, putting it together, me listening to them to really put this together. And they were the ones that got Georgia Power to give that $15,000 check. I got a picture with Mick, and it was amazing. Cassandra Cox and Ron Shipman, who has now retired, actually brought that over. And so it was amazing to be able to get that completed and done.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. And I'll plug in that new link that you sent me before I send this slide deck out. But if you could send it out ahead of time, I mean, you lit up the chat box, people with interest in that booklet. So they might be eager to put their hands on that to start sharing locally to try to mimic it. But as always, great job. Thank you again, Mark. Sorry about that technical difficulty, but I purposefully left this slide up in case people wanted to make note of it so they could go straight to it, but it will be a part of obviously the slide deck when I send it out. You have those wonderful people's contact information. And for the record, Debbie Phillips, I made a note. I have to remember the juice has to be worth the squeeze.
Absolutely.
The words of wisdom for today. I thank you for that. Okay. All right. So you guys, fabulous job. You kept on track. We're right on time. And Mr. Pinson, for this next section, we'll transition into GCAN business. I'm going to let you go ahead and start talking about board training while I try to pull up our bylaws, if you don't mind.
Well, thanks, Jenny. And I'll encourage Kathy and Debbie to chime in on part of this. You know, one of the things that we try to do is we're here to serve you and provide board training through the Technical College System of Georgia. But more than that, try to provide board training that meets your needs. Next year is going to bring about some challenges. We all know that. We've had to do any number of webinars, and prior to March of this year, I guess April, I'd never done a webinar before, but you know, we've done some trainings via webinar. It's not necessarily our method of delivery of choice, but still we want to do whatever we can do to work with you and your board. So most important thing is get us on your calendar. Get us on your calendar soon, because there are a minimum of us. You know, there's 3 of us, and I also get taken away sometimes doing certifications. So Kathy, Debbie, and I will be glad to work with you in trying to design a training using some of the new modules that we got, or working with you in any other way to try to design a board training session that meets your needs. If we use WebEx, if we're forced to do that, then the training will probably be limited. Our portion will probably be limited to a maximum of an hour. We don't like to do trainings that last any longer than that, but we'll be glad to work with you and schedule that training. The method we would ask you to use is simply this: contact me either by phone or email, and I will contact one of my fellow trainers, and we will set up a date to work with you. If we're doing a training by WebEx, then it will be 2 of us participating in the training. Either Debbie and I or Kathy and I will be working with you. So again, please feel free to reach out to me, and then we will work on trying to set a date and a time to do that training, and certainly work on choosing a topic. Debbie, Kathy, anything you want to add?
No, I just, you know, I love the annual report, and I think Kathy, and certainly in her presentation, you know, I always say you've got to have a guiding source document. So, which ties us right into some of the administrative things that I think we're going to talk about. So, Jenny, back to you.
Okay. Well, before I move into this bylaws, I definitely don't want to overlook any questions or comments that have come through the chat box. And Kathy Myers has been great to monitor that for us. So, Kathy,
yeah,
tell us what questions are reverberating out there that maybe we can try to get some answers to.
Okay, well, there's one that's popped up a few minutes ago, and I think this is pertinent to everyone. Most of these, I think, have been addressed as we've been going along. I do want to, before I read that, I want to thank Shelley for adding one of her innovative practices in the chat box, and I just ask her, as I will all of you, to be sure add your own innovative practices in the survey that comes out with the evaluation. But we have a question from Brandy to everyone, Katie, and it's asking if any of the CEOs have any specific guidance or protocols that have been developed for returning to school and students working in labs, etc. So what are the protocols? What are the guidance that's being used?
So we opening the floor. I think Katie Thomas may have dropped out already.
Yeah, well, this is from Brandy Hayes in Calhoun to everyone. And yeah, Katie, I think is off. She had to go to, I think, run to another meeting. She just texted me, but I don't know if there's anyone else from the group that might want to respond, or maybe I'm seeing, actually, I see Rhonda has posted that Hall County has designated page, and she's put the link. Thank you, Rhonda. She's put the link in the chat box.
Okay.
So we've got something coming in from Hall County.
Well, can we ask Rhonda to kind of speak to that for the benefit of the group, if you don't mind, Rhonda?
That'd be great. Let's see. Or if there's anyone else that.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, hey, thanks, Rhonda.
Okay. The last time we were on a call, I didn't have capability of talking. So, yeah, we are meeting as a district a couple of times every week. And so as we develop protocols, we've got flow charts and everything else. You won't see, there's some questions for CTA, specifically CTAE, but like equipment and so forth like that, we're looking at that. You know, you have art supplies and stuff like that, everybody. But as we refine everything and go through everything, and it's been tested through our principals and stuff, we're posting everything on that website, and they've started putting some FAQs on there. So hey, feel free to visit it, and if there's anything you like or can use, then hey, go for it. And if anybody else has anything in their district, then hey, I won't mind going to your site and see if there's anything there too.
Did I just see Laura Rackley pop in with a comment?
Yes. Yes, she has.
I did. I know everybody's kind of, can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
I know everybody's kind of concerned with particularly the occupational areas of dual enrollment. And so in the spring for our emergency medical responder class, our certified nurse aide and our welding, and in fact, we just finished up our in-person offerings in those limited labs last week with bringing in groups of students, small groups of students at a time to finish those labs so that they could complete their coursework. And we've already spoken about that, both with the technical college, and I've spoken with our superintendent about implementing that again in the fall if we were to go complete distance learning for our district. Right now, we're planning an in-person, but we also have a virtual option for our students. Students enroll in the virtual academy. They are still eligible to come on campus to take our dual enrollment courses and any other course that's not offered virtually, like our CTAE classes, our fine arts classes, and those kinds of things. So that's how we're addressing that.
Thank you, Laura. John Easler, did I see you pop in with some good information from Jackson County?
I was just really kind of curious. You know, we're just like everybody else, things change almost on a daily basis. And, you know, several metro Atlanta counties have come out with really within the past 2 days, most recently Gwinnett County today, reversing their decision to start virtually. I was just curious as to how many folks were doing that. We've had a lot of the same discussions. How do you allow those performance-based classes to be able to meet? Right now, we do have the option of choosing a digital path as well as face-to-face, but with things changing on an almost daily basis, I'm just curious as to what everyone else's thoughts were that are more like Jackson County instead of the larger metro counties.
And how many high schools are you again, John?
We've got 2 county high schools and then 2 different city school systems with Jefferson and commerce.
Okay.
And I know over in Griffin, with 3 school districts, 2, Spalding County, which is my home school district, voted, the board voted that we would not start till the day after Labor Day, but that put a whole lot of stuff, ramifications they weren't expecting, especially a lot for the Career Academy, because we have MOUs and we're partners with 2 other school districts and 2 colleges. Right now, Pike County is one of our districts is starting on time face-to-face. I don't even think they're doing any virtual, but they have so many pockets where they can't get internet in their homes. Butts County is right now planning on starting September 4th face-to-face. Our Board of Education meets tomorrow night. They may be following suit, we don't know, with other counties around us and going to virtual. But we are asking as a College and Career Academy to continue what we've been doing since the spring when we did open back up just for our lab classes, students that had to classes, especially to finish an associate degree. And we just limit the number that come in, and we're using 3 campuses, our campus, Southern Crescent, and Southern Crescent's Thompson campus. But we are just right now, we're moving forward under the assumption that tomorrow night they'll give us approval to continue offering small face-to-face. Both of our colleges are doing a combo of face-to-face and either virtual, either as online or as remote. And we're just doing a whole lot of orientations. We are doing those face-to-face with one parent and the student because of the dual enrollment changes as well as the pandemic, and just making sure all students understand the difference in remote learning and online learning and all of those things. And then also making sure we have our numbers really accurate so that we can space out labs. That's what.
Thank you, Katie. Kathy, if you don't mind, I see a lot of different chat going on. Could you read some of that out to us as it relates to John's original question?
Yeah, and if I can back up, there was a follow-up question from Brandy, I believe to Laura about the dual enrollment. Laura, I'll back up to that one first. And basically, if the dual class is offered face-to-face on campus, the students, are they going to be allowed to take the dual classes online? And that was for Laura. That was a follow-up to that question.
Sorry, I missed the question in the feed because we're all chatting pretty vigorously here. But yeah, if a dual enrollment class is offered face-to-face, they can come on campus and do the face-to-face class, or they can register through the college for the online version of those classes.
Okay, great. Many of the things in the chat box, which are super, important to hear, are many of our CEOs are chiming in on to let us know when they're starting back and what that's going to look like. We're hearing from Liberty County. They'll be 100% virtual. I know many of you can see these comments coming in. I'll go, not to minimize those, but I will go to another question because I'm trying to address the questions. But another question came in for the group. Does anyone have a great online learning platform for CTAE courses? That's a really good question.
Really good question.
Mickey Edwards just shared that she purchased eDynamic Learning. Mickey, if you're on, why don't you share?
Be great.
You're talking about the online learning?
Yes.
So Jennifer Butler founded the eDynamic Learning. We are just in the process now of matching up students with those courses. What I can see in the courses, though, there's also middle school versions, so that will be helpful too. So we're just now in the process of figuring it out, because any of our students who elected to go virtual are going to have to do that for a semester. So we're going to have to look at those courses and see how long they last, and who's going to manage that platform.
We're also seeing some other things listed like Canvas. Effingham is using Edgenuity, and I also see Edmentum from John Ellenberg. I don't know if he says they have the CTAE courses.
Yeah, they have some CTAE courses, but I haven't been extremely impressed with them. And I think even John Husler said the same thing.
Okay.
Yep, I agree. Ditto.
Well, Ashley Kiefer in Effingham, tell us what you're impressed with, how you guys are approaching this and platforms you're using.
Okay. We'll be starting face-to-face on August 5th with a virtual option if parents choose. The deadline to register for the virtual option was this past Sunday night at midnight. I think we're at about 3,200 students, K through 12, opted for virtual out of about 13,000 in our district. I was looking at our numbers here at the Career Academy. We've got about, I don't have the final number as of this morning, but should be somewhere about 160 or so of our students who have chosen virtual learning. The district is going to assign certain teachers to be virtual teachers. They'll actually do it from their classrooms in the various schools. Once a high school student or middle school student chooses virtual, they must stay in it for a full semester. They can't dive in and out full semester. Once they come back, if they choose to come back after Christmas to the high schools or the Career Academy, they'll be here for the rest of the year. Our system uses Edgenuity for virtual learning, for alternative school and some other areas. It's new this year, but I know that the CTA offerings are somewhat limited. There's business classes on there, but it's pretty limited beyond that. We will have, for our career tech classes, we will have some teachers who will be doing virtual for students as best we can in a lab situation. I think it's going to be challenging, but we'll do the best we can.
Thank you for sharing. Anything else for the good of the group coming on the chat we need to speak to aloud?
A couple more things real quick. There's a question to Rhonda. Rhonda, if you see that. So about your teachers, putting everything in Canvas, but also teaching face-to-face. Are they putting everything in Canvas and doing face-to-face? And that's from Brandy.
Can you speak to that, Rhonda?
I have stepped away. While we wait to hear from her, also out of Ben Hill, Hal has mentioned that they will be using Odysseyware, or they'll use Schoology. Oh gosh, Chris has got a good point here. The Georgia Virtual Learning has free access. Many CTA courses are available.
Hey, Carissa, can you speak to us about Liberty County and your approach using virtual learning?
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. We're similarly what others were saying in the beginning. We did the survey for students to, choose between virtual or coming back to the building. We did offer this summer. We had about 3 programs where students came back to finish their labs. We have some CNAs in the building right now trying to complete their clinical hours. So we're doing that, but our school board met Thursday evening, and they did vote for us to come back 100% virtual, and they pushed back our start date to August 13th. So it was pushed back a week. But this summer we offered some stipends for our teachers to come in and create their courses. So the school district paid a stipend for teachers to come in and get at least the first 6 to 10 units of their course that they'll be teaching created. So we have started doing that process. And through that, we did look at some other virtual options, but we did find with Georgia Virtual, they have a shared resource section, and you can apply to get, I guess, full access to the actual complete course. And it was a good resource for some of our teachers to pull some of those activities and PowerPoints and through off of that website. But I'm glad I heard from some that are saying they're looking at maybe doing some of the limited labs for the fall, because I met with Savannah Tech this morning, and we're trying to navigate the virtual for our dual enrollment kids, like welding, barbering, cosmetology, and what exactly we're going to do with those courses now that we're going to be 100% virtual. But our school system uses Canvas. So all teachers are expected to use Canvas. So we only have one platform so that students aren't confused using different platforms. So we've been working through that this summer.
Thank you, ma'am. Anything else out there you seeing, Kathy?
I don't think there's anything new, but again, kind of open it to the floor if I've missed anything, to please unmute yourself and please chime in. There's good comments, good chatter going on in the box. Lots of suggestions and sharing ideas.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Anyone gonna step up?
Jenny, can I also add one more thing? If anybody does use Canvas, there's something called Canvas Commons when you log into Canvas. And so there's a lot of shared courses that are already created. So you can go in and pull in the Canvas Commons and pull up like culinary arts or engineering. And there's already full courses that are already created from other teachers who use Canvas. So that's another resource that might be out there.
You're a genius, Chrissy Young. All right. Well, good stuff, you guys. I appreciate everyone sharing. This has been well worth the time. And hopefully you've been following that chat and making notes accordingly. But again, it gets back to a point that has come up time and time again throughout our session today, which is utilize the network. There's a lot of genius out there. So please don't hesitate to call on one another to do that. And if you've not visited our website, the Georgia College and Career Academies, georgiacareeracademies.org, there is a contact roster for everyone within the network. So you can find that there. All right, so we're doing good on time, but let me go ahead and jump in if you don't mind. This is part of our annual summer meeting. We always review our bylaws and our nominating committee. Nothing much has changed from the version that you guys saw in previous years, and I'm going to speed through here. I've highlighted where I have made the changes, which is basically a lot of changing of the dates, but it speaks to our nominating committee, which is our sitting board, executive committee. They nominate 3 individuals for the subsequent year, and technically we're already in that subsequent year, but for the benefit of talking through this with everyone, you may recall that in FY20, our executive committee was made up of Cassandra Washington, Rick Townsend as our vice chair, and then Katie Castanyan was our secretary. And you all know by now that Rick took a superintendent position, I believe in Pickens County. And so in conversations with the executive committee, and Rick even had a chance to chime in on this before he left his position at Golden Isles. The three names that you see on your screen resonated. So that being moving, Katie Castanian got to skip the vice chair role as our secretary from last year to go straight to chair. Chris Hatcher in Albany, vice chair, Laura Rackley, Jones County, as our secretary. And I think each one of those guys represent a different model of an academy, and we like to keep that mix up in as much as we can. So with that, and a member at large, I don't want to overlook, Brian Cooksey will maintain that position, member at large, as a state business partner. Cassandra will rotate to our immediate past chair. And I don't know if you're out there, Cassandra, or if you can see my screen, but I have something for you that I need to deliver. I love to do a hand delivery of this if I could, but you now join the ranks with Mickey Edwards, Keith Ellenberg, Amy Parker, and now you two have the beautiful Georgia College Career Academy Executive Committee Chair gavel plaque. So I certainly appreciate all of the work that you have contributed. On that note, Mickey Edwards, I'm glad you still have yours posted nicely in your office. But in any case, hats off to Cassandra. She did a great job. But for the purposes of our bylaws, we do need to have a formal vote that shows everyone is in agreement for these new nominated members in those respective roles that you see there on your screen. So John Easler, appreciate that. John moves to accept the bylaws as they are, and Ashley Keeper, you have seconded that, so that will count. We've recorded this session, and I appreciate that. Looking forward to an interesting year with our new GCAN Executive Committee. Thank you very much for that. So I will close this piece out. So for the benefit of the group, we are a little ahead of time, and I always say no one argues when you can wrap a meeting up early, but I don't want to close out the session if there are still any outstanding questions. So let me be quiet for a second and open the floor back up if there are questions. Okay, well, not hearing any, then I will take that we have covered everything thoroughly and answered a lot of questions. Appreciate everyone again for stepping up and sharing information about processes in your respective district. I know these are tough times, but you guys, you're doing great work out there. And I appreciate you, and I will close again with Debbie's words of wisdom. The juice has to be worth the squeeze. I love that, Debbie. I'll have to remember that forever.
Well, let's wish Irene a happy birthday.
Is Irene still with us?
I'm here.
There she
Irene, do you want us to sing happy birthday to you?
As long as everybody sings.
Yes.
Good way to close out.
Unmute. Give everybody time, Jenny, to unmute.
Yeah.
Am I here? Oh, there I am.
Everyone unmuted? This is gonna be fun.
Can you see me?
Three, you ready? 1, 2, 3.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Happy
birthday, Irene. Happy birthday to you.
Tears, tears. That was the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. Tears are in my eyes.
I love
Thank you.
All right. So, Irene, I hope to see you later this week. We can formally celebrate that birthday.
Thank you, Dave. We'll plan
All
it.
right. Any comments for the group before we conclude, Miss Irene?
No, I'm good to go. It's all good. Thanks. This was a great meeting. Learned a lot.
Okay, I did too, and I appreciate it. All right, you guys. Well, good work out there, and we'll reconnect soon. So have a good week. Thank you.
Don't forget the survey.
The survey.
Survey. Yep, the survey. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, Jenny?
Yeah, Kathy, Frank.
Yeah,
Hey.
I see. Yeah, Frank's still on. Yeah.
Great job. Great job, everybody.
I think we still have them leaving though.
Yeah, yeah. Just looking to see if there were any more comments coming in or thoughts. Yeah.
Tom Mark, do I see you there?
There's Chad. Let's see. Who's the call? I don't know who the call-in is. Do you?
I'm not sure. Identify yourself, call in.
I don't know who that is.
These folks may have stepped away. Katie Castanian still with us?
I don't know. David McDermott.
Yeah, from Houston County.
Okay.
Can you hear us, David? All right. Maybe all these folks just.
Eric's still on.
Yep. Well, in any case, guys, look, Kathy, Frank, thank you. I think I tried to keep pace as best as I could, but I think it went smoothly, all things considered. I hate that video didn't work, but they'll have the opportunity when I send it out, the link that's in the slides on the back end. So.
Yeah, and I was trying to, I think you can, as the host, you'll be able to capture the chat box.
Mm-hmm.
But I also was just trying to make a list of, I was trying to take screenshots of it just in case.
Thank you. Yeah, because now that's the part I'll have to figure out. Now that I've recorded it, how do I capture it?
Right. Well, and you'll be able to, it's just going to go into a folder, probably on your desktop is what happened with me. But
Okay.
chat box, I've never tried to save or capture that. So I'm not real sure how you do that, but it should be a part of the recording, I would think.
I would think so too. Yeah.
Might for our tech guy, but anyway, the main thing was I was trying to get a list of the platforms. I was trying to make sure we get those down to share.
Well, that was an unintended benefit. That was not part of our plan, but I'm glad it worked its way there.
Yeah. Well, that's again that's an indicator that they're on the front lines right now trying to figure this stuff out. So how are they going to reopen the schools? I mean,
They are.